Everyone, I'm doing a book tag today. I came across this on Jen's channel from Remembered Reads. This is the page 112 tag, and it was created by Sean the Book Maniac, and I'll leave a link to his video down below. I'll also leave a link to Jen's channel as well down below, so you can go and check out the books that they did, which is kind of cool. The idea behind this tag is that we all know books start off really well, but then they hit a point where they start to lag and get slow before they pick up again. So the idea of reading page 112 in a book is to give you some idea if the book continues its momentum, and a good idea of if you're still going to be invested in this book over 100 pages in, which for some books these days is not much, when some books are clocking 600-700 pages. But we'll see how we go. So the idea is you pick a few books from your TBR list, so it's not books that you've read, it's books that you haven't read yet, and you read page 112. Now, as Jen said, that's kind of like a load of reading, and she didn't think that was a great idea to read the whole page out, because that would just be you know, talking to the camera all the time. So, which is kind of what we do anyway, but there we go. So what I'm going to do is read maybe a paragraph to see how it goes, just so you get a feel of what's on that page. So first up, I'm going to start with Katanas World. This is by Jonathan L. Howard. This is a library book I picked up last week. They had book 1 and 2 in the series. I don't know anything about it at all, so I thought I'd give it a go. As you can see, I've bookmarked the page. What was really annoying is for this book, someone had dog-eared the page already. So unless they've been doing the tag, well, that's as far as they got, I don't know, but they dog-eared it. How annoying is that? So page 112. Slowly putting in as much detail as she could remember, she told Lucan about how they'd been attacked again by the same thing that attacked the baby, the thing Cain called Leviathan. He listened quietly, asking only a few questions to clarify her story and iron out ambiguities. Leviathan, he said when she'd finished. That's an old Earth name for a sea monster. He's from Earth, she confirmed. He didn't even try to deny it when I confronted him with it. He seems proud of it. He would be. He should be. A man who has no pride for his birthplace is a hollow man. I don't begrudge him that much. Still, his expression darkened. Earth. Okay. This is not set on Earth. There has been a war with Earth, so instantly I can tell that Earth is going to crop up, that there's a character coming from Earth. And, yeah, I'm happily intrigued, so I'll be reading that as soon as I can. Next up, I've got The Invisible Library. This is by Genevieve Cogman. This has been sat on my shelf for a few months now, and I haven't got around to reading it, but I really, really, really want to, because library, invisibility, you know, come on. So, chapter 8, this one. Kai drew back with an indrawn hiss, raising his hands in front of him like claws. The skin lay there on the floor, limp and wet, staining the polished boards with vinegar. Irene swallowed, holding on to the smell of the vinegar to keep her own nausea at bay. Dominic Aubrey's features looked so different like this. The flattened face was recognisable, but lacking shape, spirit, and the congenial warmth that it animated just the day before. That is gross! Okay, I'm not going to read any further, because obviously, spoilers, a character is way dead. But yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Extremely gross. Next up, I've got Seraphina. There you go. This is by Rachel Hartman. Obviously involves dragons. What's interesting in this book is, I don't know if you can see, page numbers, about halfway down the page. It's very off-putting. Page 112. Lars looked up, met the earl's fierce glare, and went white. Jordius claimed that all Sam Sames sounds like cursing, but Joseph's tone and body language left no doubt. He rode straight for Lars, gesticulating and shouting. I knew the words mongrel and bastard, and guessed the obscure halves of some compound words. I looked to Lars, horrified for him, but he stolidly took the abuse. Flippin' heck. I'm not great with pronouncing names, but crumbly, some of these are going to be fun. Trouble is, how you say it in your head and how it comes out from my mouth are two very different things. Well, that's definitely going to be a confrontation chapter by the look of that. I'll have to see how I get on. This is Winston Graham's Ross Poldark, book 1 in the Poldark series of umpteen books. Yeah, this has also been sat on my shelf for quite a while now. Oh, lots of conversation on this one. She looked at him in surprise. S.Y.? She wriggled. Because it says you must be in the Bible. You like living at home. I runned away when I was 12. And what happened? I was brought back. Darky swerved as the stoats scuttered across the path, and Ross took a firmer grip on the reins. If you stay out of your father's way for a time, no doubt he'll forget what you've done wrong. She shook her head. He'll save on up. Then is the use of avoiding him? She smiled with an odd maturity. 'Twill put him off. He reached a break in the track. Ahead lay the way to Unglan. The right fork would bring him to the skirt of St. Anne's, whence he could join the usual lane to Silwar. He reined up the mare. I'll get down here, she said. He said, I need a girl to work in my house, at Nampara, beyond St. Anne's. You would get your food and better clothing than you have now. As you are underage, I would pay your wages to your father, he added. I want someone strong, for work is hard. She was looking up at him with her eyes wide and a startled expression in them, as if he had suggested something wicked. Then the wind blew her hair over them, and she blinked. The house is at Nampara, he said, but perhaps you do not wish to come. She pushed her hair back down, but said nothing. Well then, get down, he continued with a sense of relief, or I will still take you into Eglum, if you choose. Okay, obviously that's Demelza meeting Ross. I have seen the TV show, so I know about that. I do like the way it's written with the old Cornish dialect, which is quite nice, but it's going to make it fun reading. I've got to get through all that before Demelza shows up. Cripes. The Beast is an Animal. This is by... There you are. I'm not even going to try and butcher that. Oh yeah, this is the book with the funny edges on it. I'm still not sure about these edges. The door opened again. The elder gives you his permission. He's noted it in the ledger. Mind the time, though. He'll know if you'll tarry. Mistress Miles handed Alice the basket, now empty of the honey, and gave her a heavy iron bracelet with the number 9 engraved on the inside. Alice slipped the bracelet onto her wrist, nodded, and left Mistress Miller's broad skirts behind her. As Alice walked towards the forest, she thought about the dreams she had after her watch had ended. She hadn't dreamt of Abon and Aaron dead in the field. That's probably what a good child would have dreamt about, a child who was more of a stranger to such things. She hadn't even dreamed of the soul-eaters. Instead she dreamed of the beast. It had been 5 years since she saw it last, 5 years of wondering if she'd ever see it again. But in her dream she felt as if no time had passed at all. The weather was that essence of it was as powerful to her as ever. The sensation of being part of it, and of it being part of everything else, rock and stream, mountain and tree, was so strong that Alice could feel the wind inside of her. Okay, that's confusing. Forest is spelt with a double F, for starters, and it is always a capital, which is quite interesting. Oh, there you go. Let's see how that one gets on. Doesn't really tell me much about the story. Obviously, Alice is probably our main character going by this. Something to do with the beast and fighting, I suppose. And the final book from my TBR pile I've picked is A Forest of 1,000 Lanterns. This is by Julie C. Dare. Ooh. Oh no. This has got the character's name that I can't pronounce. Sir, the second man interrupted, it is your decision, of course, but do you think it is wise when we have already selected all the swordsmen we need? The Thane darted a glance at him, noticing how his mouth twisted with displeasure, and wondered again what rank the young man held. It didn't seem possible for him to claim such a high status over experienced soldiers. But the young officer answered him in a calm, decisive tone. I do. He led Wee onto the phone without a second glance. The fencers halted their activity and faced him with respect, then one stepped forward and handed Wee a sword. Within moments we became one of them, running, lunging and parrying, though he'd done so with less finesse than they did. I'm not going to try and carry on there because there's no way I can say some of these names out loud, which is the only drawback I find when I read books from non-Western cultures, that I kind of end up butchering character names and place names because I have no idea how to pronounce them, which can take me a little bit out of the story, but it never puts me off reading the story. I still want to know what's going on because obviously if I enjoy the characters then I'm going to follow them. So there we go. Yeah, so actually I think pretty much these books on my TBR list can stay on my TBR list because I will be reading these as soon as possible. Certainly some by the point they get to page 100, action is happening, things are developing, and we're getting a bit more meat going on, whereas other books are still being quite leisurely, still setting up the situation and still introducing us to characters and that. So I think it does depend on how big the books are, but also sort of the structure of the book that you're doing this tag for, as to whether page 112 is going to be all action and excitement and adventure, and or more of a thought-provoking, slower paced storytelling. But I'm quite happy with these books. I think page 112 is probably a good round point to try and see if you like the story. And I'm certainly going to read these as soon as I possibly can. Please wish me luck on that. I won't tag people, because if you want to do this, just please go ahead and do it. That's okay. Just don't forget to credit the original creator of the tag, whose link I will leave down below in the description box for you. As always, thank you very much for watching. My social media links are in the description box. You can find me on Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter. And happy reading, everyone. Bye.